My name is JoAnne and I am with Reach the Unlimited. And I'm going to do a hiccup because it says we're live, but it's still buffering. So here we go. Hold on. I've got to get better at this.
So Lit Mobile just sent me this solar wireless battery pack.
You know what? We're going to start this over again.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, we're just going to go on. But what I did is I tried to go on YouTube. And so I'm getting the feedback of it because I didn't do the right thing. So here we go. Live TV. Here we go.
That's fine.
So here we go, you guys. JoAnne Eisen here with Reach the Unlimited. And I'm so happy to be here with you. This is my first time to do a live on YouTube. I usually, as a lot of you know, do my lives on Facebook. But we're going to switch over to YouTube and see how that goes. So I don't have the live going yet, but I will in a minute so I can get any kind of questions that you have. So please feel free to ask questions, to comment, to do whatever, whatever you need to do, communicate with us. We would love to communicate back with you. So I will pull that up once we get rolling. This platform was started so I can have beautiful people like Mardi, sorry, I know what your name is, on so we can share different perspectives, different ideas, be able to educate people, to be able to explore all different kinds of options. So I want to welcome my guest, Mardi McCray, who is here with us today. And we're going to be talking about how to make lemonade out of sometimes the lemons that life can give to us. And I am just so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I've not been on a talk show before.
You haven't? Oh.
This is a goal of mine in life, and you're fulfilling it. So
yay.
Thank you, JoAnne.
Yay.
Yeah.
So one question that I always like to start off with my guests is, can you tell me what reaching for the unlimited means to you and how you implement that in your life?
Wow. Okay. Huh.
I'm sorry.
That's really intimidating. So,
what helps you reach for your highest goals? What do you do every day to keep achieving, to keep moving forward, and to keep reaching for those things that your dreams and your desires?
Yes. I struggled my whole life a lot with anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say that one thing I've learned, it's for me, it's not even a case of reach for the unlimited. It's like, let's get out of bed and do some stuff. So, some days are just like that,
Right.
Yeah. So I'll say that when you struggle with anxiety, when you struggle with depression, when, you've had, I have, which we can talk about at some point, I don't know, maybe, but I do suffer from PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have a chronic health conditions, 2 autoimmune diseases. I mean, I have what my husband says is like, you walk in the door and you're carrying like a Santa Claus sack of BS, just stuff that you have to deal with, And so for me, reaching for the unlimited, for a long time, it was just, I was just so grateful. Gratitude, I believe, the practice of gratitude. Gratitude gives you purpose.
Yes.
And if you're grateful just to, some days it will look like, hey, I put on some clothes and I went to the store. That's pretty awesome. And then, and that's great. And you're grateful for that. And then other days it's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing a talk show with my friend JoAnne and I've got clients meetings later on, I've got a busy professional life. So it really varies with me. That's the best way I can answer it. Being grateful, just,
right.
When you start getting stressed out or nervous, I guess for me, it's like, I'm my own worst enemy a lot of times. And so for me, it's coaching myself. I'm always coaching myself and I'm always talking to myself and one of my tricks is that I did teach this to my son as well, is be your own best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're down and you're feeling like today is not really a reach for the unlimited day, it's all about coaching myself and going, okay, Mardi, what would your best friend say to you? That's okay. Let's just get up and do what you can do. You know, let's go downstairs and take care of things that need to be taken care of. And pretty soon, when you roll into your routine and get going, that's what keeps me going.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because I love how honest you are about that, because it would have been easy to just say, well, but life isn't always going to give us what we dream of or what we hope for, right? Because that's not our human experience here, is to have everything be like beds of roses, right? So we are going to have those bumps in the road. And I was writing about earlier, if you feel like your life is going to be perfect, and that you're never gonna, because there's a lot of that mind over matter, which I believe in. I'm not saying that there isn't that mind over matter, but that doesn't mean that you're never gonna hit obstacles or stress or problems. And it's how you deal with it that's really the key.
Yes.
Would you say?
Yes, that's it. Because let me tell you, just sometimes, just like I said, sometimes just getting out of bed is like, reach for the unlimited. But for me, being a psychic and a medium, and a extreme empath, I feel other people's feelings. I get my feelings hurt extremely easily. I'm extremely sensitive, and so to be in this world and to be extremely sensitive, it doesn't really usually go together. Right. Yes, especially in America, right? You're supposed to be, always striving, always ambitious, always never show your weakness. And that's how I was raised. I was raised, you put on a smile and a brave face and you go out and everything's great. I'm perfect. Yeah. And I don't know, if you live that way for too long, it just tears at your soul. I can't be that way. I'm really real. I have to be real. And yeah.
And I love that, because I think that's when we get into real trouble, when we put on that stoic, because that's what I did. I put on that stoic cloak, like I can just barge through this world, even though I was like you, feeling everything that was happening and feeling people's pain and feeling the pain of the world. I remember when I first started my journey, it was like, turn the volume down, it's too loud. It was like the world was just too loud for my being an empath.
Yes.
And I think it's being able to take that off and just be you, and be open to just acknowledging that that's who you are, and then finding ways to deal with that, trying to overcome that, which I know you and I have talked about that you have tools that you use for that.
The tools that I use for, just
to be able to cope every day. And because PTSD is a very real thing. And
yes,
I know that there's a lot of people that believe, mind over matter, you just do ERMs, or you do all these tapping and things, that it makes it better. But it's a process that you go through, isn't it?
Yes, that's a really good point, JoAnne. Yes. One thing about me, I had a pretty crazy, chaos-filled childhood upbringing. And without going into details, it was just a lot to recover from. And so in my adult life, as I got out into, I was in corporate sales for 25 years in very high pressure industries. And the last 5, I was a realtor. And I loved it, but my God, the pressure to be perfect, the pressure to be, always on, always marketing, always be selling, always be closing. It's like, it was triggering. I hate that word, I really do. But it's not untrue. You get triggered so many times during your day. And no, in my adult life, I've never been without a therapist. Let's just put it that way, because I know that I do need help. There's times when I'm like, oh my God, I just feel like I could scream, or I feel like I'm going to blow up at somebody, or I'm, it's just a constant thing. And yes, I've done all of those. I've done the, eye movement, held the buzzers while you're talking about your trauma. I've done everything you can think of to hypnosis. What else? I mean, every talk therapy for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I don't want to depress anyone. It's funny because my nature is to be a very upbeat,
Mm-hmm.
positive person, but yet I really do get pulled off track by symptoms of PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you better have tools to deal with it. Otherwise, you can really cause damage for others.
Well, I think that one of the bigger tools, because it's who we really are, is that love, love from the heart and living in love and compassion and also gratitude. And if you have those, then that helps you to move forward and see the light in the day. Because living in this world is not easy. And anybody who says that it is lying.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always something for us to have to rub up against, and it's not about, I have to go back. This is going to be the theme, I think, of this conversation, because I'm feeling it is that mind over matter is really, what you put out, you're going to project, you're going to get back. I believe that, right?
Yes, yes.
But we're still, and what I'm understanding more and more is that we're still human to have these human experiences. So it's like we said a few minutes ago, we're not going to always have those bed of roses, even if you have a positive attitude, even if you are projecting and manifesting good things, you are going to have these bumps in the road. And we have to be able to acknowledge that.
Yes. When I was younger, I used to think that when people said that, like love is the answer,
Mm-hmm.
I used to think, well, if I'm just really nice to everyone, then they'll like me and then I'm safe in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That was I don't know that I ever consciously thought it that way, but that's in retrospect, I can see that's what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been that person who I want to be everyone's friend. And
Yeah.
Honestly, it was out of fear of rejection, fear of, you see what happens to the people who aren't popular, or the people who are weird or did something out of the norm. It was just pretty terrifying to a person with anxiety.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, I'm not going to be that person. So it's like I thought in my, maybe I'm saying like my 20s 30s, if I'm just really nice to everyone, then my life goes fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't work like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like some people are going to like you, some people are going to think, okay, you're weird, it doesn't matter what I do, they won't like me. But I used to really obsess or get, well, why don't they like me? Why, do you know what I mean? Like pulling your own self off your own track,
Right.
by worrying so much about what others think. And I have a great Dr. Phil quote for that is, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you knew how seldom they did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know I lived most of my life that way until I realized that, why do I care what other people think about me? Because I don't even like myself. And so it's going inward then to start healing that part of you that for some reason you turned your back on yourself. And that's the love that, when I talk about love, that's the love that I'm speaking of, because we have to have that love for ourselves, because then we have the wisdom to be able to say, you're not for me, or you are for me. And then you make better choices who comes into your life.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, for me, it was, you hit the nail on the head. Learning to love yourself, be your own best friend.
Yes.
Don't worry about what other people think of you. Mm-hmm. And for sure, I'll tell you, and you're probably on this journey too. In fact, I know you are to some extent with being out in public as a medium or a psychic. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're of an age of the generation that, what? Okay, that's crazy. I mean, that's just weird. Or worst case, that's against God.
Exactly.
And it takes guts. I didn't come out as a medium until I was 50.
Yeah.
Even though I knew my whole life.
Yeah.
I was too frightened
Right.
of what would other people think of me. They won't like me, and they'll think I'm weird.
That's a very interesting comment, because what did you find happened when you started coming out and you started to talk to people about what you do and what is naturally innate in you? Well, how did that shift happen, and how did people react to that?
I came out on Facebook. I just wrote it up and said, "Here's my truth." And it was right before I went to my first big workshop with other mediums. And I was really nervous and scared, thinking, I'm hoping I'm going to meet, some friends there. But yeah, I came out on Facebook, and 3/4 of the response was wonderfully supportive. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." And I was like, well, I'll be darned. That was much easier than I thought.
Yeah.
However, I did lose, I had a lot of Christian friends, and I lost a little group of them.
Yeah.
And because they were all worried for me, and they were like, "We'll pray for you. We're praying for your soul. And didn't you know that in the Bible it says da, da, da?" And I'm like, I'm a scholar, a biblical scholar. I know a lot about the Bible.
Yeah.
I love Jesus, but no, not in the way that traditional Christianity teaches us. He's very real to me, and I literally talk with Jesus. So, that alone right there, yeah, I lost a lot of people. They're like,
I don't know, for me, because I was the same as you, and and I have people that are praying for me and think I'm going to hell and I'm going to be there for eternity, and that's fine. There's nothing I'm going to do to change them.
yeah,
But you can't change what is in you and that to be true.
yes,
I don't know how anybody, what I did for many years, and that's a part of why I hated myself, was because I had this part of me that I wasn't allowing to come forward. And so I'm squashing it so I don't offend anybody, because what I would do is voice, because I didn't know really, when you're not really in that world and you don't understand how it works, I would voice something and people would get mad at me like, "You're wrong," or "How could you know that?" or "How could you say that?" or "How horrible I was because I mentioned that," or whatever it was. And I always thought that I was a bad person. But what I was doing was doing psychic work, and I didn't even realize that was happening.
right.
What makes you more crazy? How do you put that in a box and put the cover back on it when you know?
You can't.
No.
You can't. And that's a really interesting point that you raise. I from a young age had this gift, but you know what? I think all of us do. I think all of us have the capability to be somewhat psychic, somewhat medium, whatever your thing is. Intuition, let's just call it intuitive. Everyone's got it. But it depends, how far do you want to investigate this?
Right.
How far do you want to take this? And I am always a person who, there you go. Here's my reach for the unlimited answer. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is everything to me. If I don't know or understand something, and I hate it when someone says something and I'm like, I never heard that. It just eats at me. So I'm like, I have to go and research online. I have to find out everything I can about that topic or subject that I didn't know about before, because I feel like, why else are we here? A curious mind is never going to get old, right?
Right.
If you are always, and a curious mind, I naturally think is a very positive mind as well, because it's exciting and it's fun. I get stimulated, and I really have a blast doing research online.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
Yeah, I just want to know more. I want to know more. But there is that. Once you've opened up the box and you start knowing more and knowing more.
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
I want to say there's 3 people here watching. You guys comment, because I really like to know how it was to get over here to YouTube and what you think about this format, and if you have any questions or if you have any comments to this conversation, because it's a really serious conversation that a lot of people experience and a lot of people don't know how to get through. Like for me, like you, I even went on Facebook as more of a public figure by doing these interviews and live shows. And I'm having all these people on that were psychics and mediums and intuitives and readers, and which are all the same thing, but they're all different things, right? Or coaches or whatever, and being authentically who you are. And yet I'm still hiding. So it's like, why am I talking to all these people? Clearly I'm in that world, right? But I'm thinking I'm still hiding. And it took a lot for me to come out of that and be able to accept that that's who I am and embrace that.
Right.
So
I heard a ding.
You don't know how to comment. Somebody just said they don't know how to comment. I think you just put, I think you just add in the comments. Hold on, let me see.
On YouTube or on Facebook?
Comments here. Let's see if that helps. There's a line. So I just said add comments here, Marcia. So see if you can put it in there. You guys are helping me because this is the first time I'm doing this. And Mardi, you get to go through it with me. You already went through step one.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm good with that.
Yeah, there's right next to under comments. Right now it has 0 comments, although I have 1. There it says add public comments there. So try putting it in there and let me know if that works. But back to our conversation. When did you start knowing that you were, because there are a lot of people, everybody says, everybody's born a psychic and we all squash it down or we don't or whatever, we deal with it in however way we deal with it. But not everybody acknowledges mediumship or even wants to deal in mediumship because of the nature of that work. When did that happen to you and how did you come across that?
For the mediumship.
For the mediumship, yeah.
My whole life, I've had a voice in my head, and no, I'm not nuts. But honestly, the way the era that we grew up in, it's like you don't tell people you hear voices in your head. Are you kidding me? And so, but I did hear voices, and often they would, and then when I was sleeping at night, I full on had spirit walking around my bedroom that I could physically see. Sometimes I could always physically hear people walking, footsteps. And I knew it was real because my cat slept with me, and my cat would hiss. I'd be like, okay, you see that guy too. All right, that's I know of my cat seeing it. And this is as young as 6 or 7 years old. I tried to tell my parents about it, and they were just like, oh, sounds like you have some bad dreams.
Oh my.
And so I thought, okay, well, that's just what bad dreams are. And I thought everyone has dreams like this, like people are walking around their room at night and whispering in their ear and poking you in your sleep. Yeah, so it's been my whole life. I just started finding out that these were real because they would tell me, hey, I had people's grandparents come to me that had passed. This is when I was in elementary school.
Oh, wow.
Tell, I'm just making up a name. Tell Lisa that, her grandma says hello and not to worry about, some little comment. And I'd go, okay, and so I'd tell the person and it would be true. And I'd think, okay, well, so this is a real thing. And I started figuring out, oh my gosh, these are people who died.
Wow.
And that scared me. I'm like, I don't want to talk with dead people. That's weird. That's scary.
I know that would be terrifying as a kid.
Yeah, but when I didn't really know that. I didn't know that's what that was until I started relaying messages to friends. And they're like,
right.
How do you know that? I'm like, well, they come in my room at night and they whisper in my ear. I mean, that sounds silly and that sounds strange. And so I did keep it to myself. Yeah.
I am listening to you, but I'm getting
commenting
that they're putting comments there and it's not coming in. And so I'm going to have to, you guys, I will work this out. This, like I said, this is all the first time. So we're working the bugs out. I will figure out what's going on. There's 5 people watching. Thank you guys for being here. Please be patient. After the interview, you guys can still comment. So I'll figure out what's going on here by the next time and hopefully make it better.
Do you need to dink around with it now, or?
No, I was doing that while I was listening to you, but
okay.
I can't really see. And again, I'm not, I don't really know about YouTube that much. So this is all a learning curve. I thought it was fairly easy and it should have been, but I'll figure it out. So I'm sorry, you guys. I would like to know your comments and know what you're saying. So here we go. It would be very scary. I know you and I talked about this. I don't have a memory of interacting with the other side when I was younger. I do believe that I did from some of the dreams that I had, but I'm not aware of them.
Right.
But for me, because of my family dynamics, it was squashed. There was no way I would ever. I mean, I was raised in a Catholic family, and I wasn't even allowed to change from being a Catholic until I had moved out of the house. So I don't think I'm going to be talking with deceased people or anything.
Yeah.
And, I lived in a house where it was like, you're just supposed to be seen, not heard. So just follow the rules and don't buck the system.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how scary that would be when you're that young and to not especially if you don't have anybody who's teaching you. Like, I know you said that you worked with your son, didn't you, about this?
I did when he was little. He was, well, that's a whole other story. Having a child who started experiencing the same things I did. And what was crazy was that I've never lost that. I've always, living alone my whole life, I still see, hear. I mean, I've had apparitions at this home I live in. Every place I've lived, I've seen spirit. I've talked with spirit physically in the place. In addition to what's called mental mediumship, which I mostly practice now. But full on, my son was seeing, hearing, feeling the same spirits that I was. And yes, they do come in your dreams as well. And I have a really nice story about that. When my grandmother, it's my mom's mom, my grandma passed away in 1995. And I just got the goose shivers, the goosebumps. I knew she was here. So when she passed away, it was sudden. We didn't expect her. She wasn't really particularly ill, but she had some chest pain and she went into the hospital for it. And I had visited her that afternoon, and she was talking about, she said, Mardi, they've come to talk to me and I'm to be the head gardener. And I was like, okay, what? She's an amazing gardener. And I thought, okay, so she's talking with the other side. A little background, my grandma had this gift too. And so I had her to talk to about this as I got older. And so we had already talked about these things. And I was like, okay, I feel like she's getting ready to go. Well, we went home, and then later that night, we got a call around midnight saying, my mom called, and the nurse had called her and said, your grandma passed. And so, but how she passed, it was so peaceful and lovely. She was in bed and she just sat up and said, oh dear, I don't need the pain medication. I just asked you for the train's here and I must go. And so she, and the nurse said she just laid back down and died. She had a pulmonary embolism.
Wow.
But the nurse said it was one of the nicest deaths she'd ever seen. It was so peaceful. It was just lovely. My grandma just laid back down, closed her eyes, and left. And so I was thinking to myself that night when I got that message, how am I going to tell my 2-year-old son? Because he loved his great grandma. And the next morning he got up and I was making his oatmeal, and I'll never forget it because I almost dropped the oatmeal. I'm holding the hot oatmeal in my hands, and I was thinking, how do you tell your 2-year-old great grandma died? What does that mean? How do you explain death to a 2-year-old? And before I could say anything, he said, his little baby voice. Guess what, Mama? I said, what? And he said, great grandma's an angel. And I just, what? And I almost dropped the oatmeal. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, she came and gave me a kisa. That's what we called keys. Give me a kisa. She gave me a kisa last night when I was sleeping. And she said she's an angel now. She's going to heaven. Can we go visit her at heaven? I'm like, oh my gosh. So that was really special. And I have so many stories like that. That was just one story. But for me, when I knew my son could see, hear, spirit and all that, I'm like, okay, you better get on your game, lady, because I don't want him to be frightened. He was terrified. He didn't want to sleep alone. I mean, he literally slept in our room almost every night till he was 14. He'll kill me for ever saying that online. But anyway, it was, we used to joke about it. Like, you know, we're going to be senior citizens and we'll have a cot in the room. Hey, Mom, Dad. But anyway, no, that's what drove me to educate myself. I'm like, darn it, Mardi, you can't be scared about this anymore. Because I was sort of pushing it away. Right. And I thought, all right, I've got to go do all the research I can and be a good role model for him and teach him not to be frightened about this and just to always be learning more. Yeah.
So I was just going to mention honey is also able to see spirit. And we were talking the other day about how animals can see spirit. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I've always been fascinated by, until I became into the more of the knowing and understanding, when you see an animal that's doing, like, looking or doing strange things.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of friends that are animal communicators, and which is fun, and I can do that too. I'm sure not as well as they can, but I know the basics of it. And what it is well, they've now done scientific studies that say animals can see they can see more of the UVB rays, I guess it is, more of that spectrum than what we can. So they really are seeing things that we can't see. And, you know, when you see your cat looking around, everyone's got a story about what is my cat watching? Yes. But my cat is the one, when I was little, who reassured me, because she slept with me every night, and I knew, okay, I'm not crazy because she's seeing the same thing I am. And now, as what animal communicators will tell you is animals usually speak in pictures. They communicate telepathically to you. And so a lot of times I practice with my animals, just sending them pictures. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. Our rescue kitty, and she doesn't like to be not held. I have to hold her a lot.
Well, they see spirit on the other side, so
yeah,
they're not afraid of it. So we shouldn't be either. I mean, we have control over what we see and what we allow to enter into our energy field. Can you talk a little bit about that so the people aren't afraid of it?
Oh, yes. Here, go. That's funny, because I wrote a little note before we got started that not all psychics are mediums, because being psychic is, and I'll just explain it if there's anyone here who's confused. I don't know what the level of knowledge is out there, so bear with me if this is redundant. Not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychic. So a mediumship is simply the ability to see, hear, feel, communicate with spirit energy, people who have crossed over. And then being psychic is actually you're reading energy, but you're reading people, you're reading humans, you're reading your energy. I saw a really cool demonstration of that one time. Andy Bing, one of my favorite teachers.
One of my absolute favorite teachers.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. He's such a great guy, a great person, and a fantastic medium.
Yep.
he did a demonstration. He probably did this for you too, where like he had a person sit in a chair. He left the room and we were all the audience, all of us mediums were sitting there, and we just picked a gal and she went up and sat in this chair in front of the room. And so she sat there for a while, 5 minutes, like a few minutes. And then she went and sat in the audience again. So no one, he didn't know who had been doing that. So he came back in the room and he just stood by the chair and he said, I'm now going to demonstrate the difference between a psychic reading and a mediumship reading. And he said, I'm going to show you he read the energy from the chair, where she'd been. I mean, she was in the audience and he just started saying, this person is really into dancing, and this person is actually involved in some venture right now that requires her to be teaching kids and it turned out, yes, she was a dance teacher. Yeah, everything was spot on. But he was reading the energy from the chair.
Right.
And he didn't know who it was. And finally, he just kept trusting, that what he was getting was appropriate and right. And he figured out who it was in the audience. And that was really cool, because that was just 100% using the psychic gifts that he had.
Which is important what you said. And I want to come back to your other part of it, but I want to also interject here, is that's how come when a psychic tells you something that it could be wrong, not that it's wrong, it could change because we change.
Yeah.
Energy changes. So that's what happens when you're getting a psychic reading and they say, well, this is going to happen. You can never say this is going to happen, because you're only talking about the potential of the energy.
Right.
Energy changes. But when you're working in the mediumship world, what about that one?
Well, that's different because it's harder for me to explain, but it's most people, I get a feeling, and I get it right here in my chest and sort of in my solar plexus area when spirit's present. That's how I know it. It's almost, for me, it's that feeling of, how a lot of people have the fear of public speaking. So that feeling of like, it's kind of like, like, I don't want to go up there and talk in front of everyone. It's that sort of, that's the noise that it makes, is like, and I don't want to do this. So that when I get that feeling, it's so funny because Andy and Mavis Patilla, another mediumship teacher that I love, both of them told me, Mardi, because I'd say, I want to do this reading, but I'm too nervous to do it. And they'd say, no. That's your connection to spirit. You lean into that nervousness.
Right.
You lean into that emotion.
Yeah.
And it's just the oddest thing, because I do believe mediumship is the gift of being to lean heavily into whatever your feeling is, because it's all energy. You're reading a spirit energy. And it's whatever it means to you. That you have, as you know, clairvoyance, clairsentience, all of your senses can be a clair, and simply claircognizance. A lot of times in a reading, I see, hear, feel spirit. It's almost like a multimedia presentation for me. It's like I'm watching a movie. I hear them talking in my head. Oftentimes I'll see a ticker tape of words going across the screen, and I just start reading the words. Oh, I'll be darned, that's a reading for you. Yeah, and it happens. The more you practice, the better you get. That's all I can say. Just like anything, the more time you spend, spirit language is extremely subtle. So we could be, in public or in a place, and I could be picking up energetically from, because we all carry our energetic body around us. We also carry the memories of our loved ones in that energetic field. And sometimes we're carrying literally them in that energetic field, especially when you talk about them. I've found when you talk about your loved ones in spirit, they'll always come to you. 9 times out of 10, that's what pulls them in.
Right.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, like for me, you start thinking about them, or you'll think about things that you did, or things that will trigger your memory of them, or, and that's when you go, oh, so you're around. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I've had that happen. In fact, I just had that happen the past couple of days with somebody who I had totally forgotten about for years. And then it was like, I kept on getting these, like you said, like these pictures, right, that would come forward of this person. I was like, whatever, I let it go and let it go. Finally, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Why am I doing that? Oh, you're here. You want to connect with me. Okay, I get it.
Good. That's good. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's when I can't tell you, my whole life has been, a string of, there's also the collective consciousness, okay?
Yes,
There's the whole energetic field that all of us humans, our thoughts are, when you think your thoughts, you're creating things. And so the things and the thoughts that you create and put out into the field, they're accessible. And I never really got that. I know a lot of this stuff from my spirit guides and from just my personal experience now. When you keep having these experiences over and over and over, you can't help but start believing this is true and this is how it works. I have that, again, I have that curious mind. I'm also an extreme skeptic and I've always been. It's my first nature to go, really? Okay, maybe that's true. I don't know. I think most humans are.
Right.
I think it's a self-protective thing. You have to have critical thinking skills to get along in this world. And so, no, I don't just believe someone when they say, oh, you know what? I'm a psychic. I'm a medium. I can do da da da. Okay, maybe. But when I've experienced it with you, and when you've shown me and you've brought my loved ones through, and there's only things, this is what I always say in a reading to spirit. I always, because I know what a skeptic I am, I know my clients are like, really? I really want it to be true that you really can talk with my grandma, but dang it, I don't know. I have to trust you.
Right.
There's a huge leap of trust that clients have to take when they see you. And so how do you bridge that trust? For me, it's I ask spirit, I ask grandma or whoever's coming through for that person, please tell me something that only you, my client, and you know. So she'll really know, or he'll really know this is really you. And that it's awesome. It never fails. That's one of the first things I do because I want to bring down that trust issue. You really do have to trust and have an open mind and an open heart when you sit for a reading. Because it'll just make it go, it'll make it be one of the best readings ever, honestly. And how do you bring down your natural skepticism is opening your heart to love. Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah. Which we talked about in the beginning. It's coming back around again. That is the biggest things that we should be living by. It doesn't mean that you're opening your heart to being stupid and vulnerable, but like anything, any situation that happens, you can interact with it in love.
Yes.
And that's, if we could all do that, we would sure cause or stop a lot of problems that are happening in the world if we could do that.
Yes,
I'm a big one
agree.
for that. Yeah. So, but you bring up a really good point, because there are a lot of not ethical mediums in the world. What would some of the like red flags be to somebody who's not really being honest or ethical? Do you have an idea?
I don't know. That's funny. I don't feel that. I've not experienced that really. I mean, that's so funny. I'd say that like attracts like. And so I honestly, I've not experienced, what I've experienced is maybe people are I haven't experienced that bad ethics, but then again, I'm not swimming in the public world. I have extremely high standards, extremely high integrity. That's a huge, I won't lie to people. I'm not going to make things up. If I really can't get the information, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to. You
just named the number one thing to look for.
What?
If somebody is not honest with it, they can't bring something forward, then you've got a good medium, because you're not going to get all the answers. You're going to get what is needed, but you're not going to have all the answers. And if you are afraid to say that you don't have the answer, or that you need to maybe ask a few more questions, then you're not an ethical medium.
Yes. No, that's very true.
That's a big one. If you are not, also you as a sitter should listen to your gut and verify whether you feel like that person is actually speaking the truth as well, because you are playing the song and dance together when you're doing a reading. You're both interacting with each other, and your family lineage is kind of doing that song and dance as well. So you have your part to play in that. Yeah.
It's true. You know, when I've done public demonstrations, that tends to be more of a mixed group. That there'll be some skeptics, some people who are like, I'm only here because my wife dragged me, you know?
They're usually like this.
Yes.
No.
And you know, that's okay. That's fine. I don't want to give a reading to someone who doesn't want one.
Right.
And it doesn't usually work very well anyway. You can't force these things.
No.
I go with spirit, and to trust. Mediums know this. When you walk into a room with 15 or 20 people that you're demonstrating your mediumship in front of, there's not only those 15 or 20 people there. I feel and I see in my mind's eye. I'm seeing, not physically. Usually not physically. In your mind's eye, your third eye, you're seeing crowds, because everyone brings their ancestors. Their ancestors all want to come to these events, or their friends and family who've passed. Their people. Everyone brings their people. And I always think, gosh, if this audience could see what I'm seeing, could feel what I'm feeling, and so it's like, again, yes, how do you make them come along with you on that journey?
Right.
You can't make someone, but you can invite them to. And I think the best way you invite them is by being a damn good medium. By hey, here's your piece of evidence right here. Your dad's here, and he said, remember the time you fell off your bike in first grade, and I did this, and blah blah. Very specific evidence. I guess for me, the difference between what you were saying earlier, someone who doesn't have ethics, or almost everyone can say, oh, your grandma's here, oh, she had white hair and glasses and she liked to bake cookies. I mean, that's pretty generic grandma.
Yes.
But no, that we're talking specific evidence, names, dates, numbers, meaningful stories. I don't know. I just think it's just important. You'll know the difference. People know.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. And I agree with you. It's looking for things that are not cookie cutter, like, an older man, he was your grandfather, he lived in, well, that, but if you're being real general, then you're usually not really connecting, or they're just not that good at it.
Yeah.
They won't say ethics, they're just not that good, or they haven't practiced. I know for me, one of the biggest things to really becoming a better medium is doing a lot of inner work. Can you talk a little bit about how that happens and what you process through that?
Yes. Yeah, because as you know, the more, well, I think it's true of everything. The more you know yourself, just like what you were saying earlier, the more you love yourself, the more you really know yourself. Yeah. And that's just the better person you can be, and the better vessel for spirit you can be. What I've found that's important is to be a clear, pure vessel for spirit to come through. And in order to do that, I can't be all tied up in knots about, I'm worried about what happened today, or I'm all obsessed about how come that girl doesn't like me, and that really hurt my feelings, or you can't be you have to be pure, clean, relaxed, open. And how do you get that way? Living in this physical world, it's a practice. Yeah. And I meditate twice a day, every day. I don't meditate long, maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 to 20 minutes in the evening. And it's quieting your mind. And it is what I've found is just experience.
Mm-hmm.
The more you have the experience of bringing spirit through, and then you have success, you build your confidence, and
Right.
you build confidence, and you build trust in yourself.
Right.
And you know, like, okay, no, I've had this experience before. I'm not going to get rattled. I mean, I've had it where spirit takes a while to come through, standing up in front of a bunch of people, and you're like, okay, anytime now. I really need someone to come in. But I've learned to just sit with it and be
Yeah.
comfortable, because I know without a doubt, spirit's not going to leave me hanging.
Right.
You know, they're going to come in and they're going to talk to who needs to be talked to, which
Right.
brings up another point, I think, that you were mentioning. I've sat in a circle with you before when we had, I'll never forget it. We had a theme, and it always works this way in circles. Like the spirits kind of join in groups and come, like minds come in together.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was, the theme was like, got grandpas who were white haired with plaid shirts and khaki pants. It's like everyone was like, oh yeah, mine's wearing that too. Mine's wearing that too. It was really cute. And I've had that happen. It almost always happens that way in a large group of people. Even
Mm-hmm.
you start to, by the time I've given all these readings to all these people, I'm like, wow, I'm noticing a common theme here.
Yeah, I have.
Um,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm talking too much.
Are you kidding? No, no, it's interesting. And I know that for a lot of people, being a medium is scary, or they don't want to talk to a medium. I mean, I could go, let's just jump into the Bible part of it, because
Mm,
like you, I'm very steeped in biblical
yes,
verses
yes,
and themes and whatever. And I also educated myself on the truth of the Bible. I'm not going to get into rights or wrongs of that one, but other parts of the Bible that
yes,
aren't in the Bible for specific reasons. But
correct.
there's nothing to be afraid of it. There's nothing to be afraid of mediums, because they're on that side to help us on this journey, because they've been here. They know that this life is not easy, but that they're happy that we came here for this experience. And each of us are going to have our own unique experience. And
Yes,
they want to come and help us. They want to be there for us. It's like, we both know that we could say, I want my father to come through. And here comes Uncle Harry that you just have no idea who he is. And he has a message for you because it's communicating with you on a level that you can understand. And I
yes,
think that if we can really embrace that and um, not be afraid of that and use it to our advantage, because they're here to help us, and the better off we're going to be.
yes. Amen. Yeah, for me, what I take from the Bible a lot is that, there's only two real specific verses that are against it, and what they both really say is, do not put your faith
Ex-
in fortune tellers, or people who are, well, duh. I mean, to me, I'm not. I don't know. I'll always refund someone. I've never had to, but no, I did one time, and uh, refund someone for a reading. But the bottom line is, if I didn't satisfy you by bringing your person through that you wanted to come through, then okay, don't pay for it. And by the way, psychically, if I'm doing a psychic reading,
mm-hmm.
just like what you said, it's almost like it's a sample of the ball of energy that you are at that moment in time.
Right.
And free will in this world, um, causes us to make so many different choices that, no, if someone tells you the biggest no in a psychic, if someone says, oh, I can tell you this is what's going to happen to you, and no, sorry, no. In general, people can see trends.
Right.
You can see, and maybe you did see a future event for them, but yeah, that's not ethical. I mean, unless it's, I asked a psychic medium once, I asked her, when was I going to die? What is, that's just a mean question. but I didn't know what I didn't know. I'm
Yeah,
like, well,
exactly.
she could probably tell me,
Yeah.
because I was so worried about my health at the time. And I'm like, I just have this feeling I'm not going to live too long. And so let's just hear it. Tell me when I die. And she's like, well, it doesn't really work that way. I go, oh, okay. But she was kind and she explained to me, she said, I do see you have health issues, but and she said, don't worry, you're going to have a long enough life to long enough to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just leave it at that. And I did have the feeling she knew more, but she was good to not say that.
Yeah, because a part of ethics on mediumship and psychic work is that you're kind. And that if there's something that you see or you feel is in the energy, you just don't blurt it out to the detriment of that person. And I totally agree with that. If you're going to somebody who's not aware of their verbiage, their vocabulary, then you need to move on, because that could be really harmful. But I love in that situation, because I feel like that medium was, or that psychic was saying, you have the potential to change your directory of your life. So it's up to you whether you're going to be here for 5 days or 25 years. It depends on your choices in life. And that's the one thing I love how you brought that up. It's one thing that I really have been harping more and more about is don't give your power to anybody, including psychics or medium. And I know a lot of people seek psychics out and they want an answer to their question.
Right.
But you have choice. You have free will. So if it's not in alignment and you're in that, if you are like a train going to the station, you're going to get to that station. If you are directing to that station and you're like, wait a minute, here's a turn here. Maybe I'm curious, what's over there? You're changing the directory of whatever you were directing for.
Yes.
There's no way around that. So don't give your power away. You have power. It's like information or suggestions. It's not fact.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's true. It's very true. And just by her answering me that way, I knew, okay. And I was thinking, well, I know she's seeing it. And I had the number in my head, and it was my own little test. Like, let's see if she answers right, because I'm pretty sure I know when I go, and I'm pretty sure it's this age. And no, she was like, no, that's not how this works. And I appreciated that. And it did make me think. It did make me take a step back and go, what am I doing? I have the choice. I have the power. I think that scares people more than anything, knowing that we are so powerful.
That I agree with you. I think that's the number one thing that keeps people from, including myself, from stepping into what we're actually here to do, because we're afraid of that power. And I think a part of it is the fact that we're taught that in our society. We're taught that as we're young, that the power that we have and stepping into that power is a bad thing.
Yes.
We're what do you call it? Egotistical. We're selfish. We're self-centered. You put a name on it and we're labeled.
Yeah.
Because all we're trying to do is what we see as being our potential, what we're here to do in our potential. And I think that I sit with that quite a bit, because that time where you're trying to learn something and you get it and you're like, yeah. And then you think, because of my training, it's like, well, you're just being haughty.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't celebrate too much or you'll attract the evil eye. And it's, you know what? The sad thing is, it's not untrue. I mean,
well, it depends on how far you go. It depends. Yeah. I mean, we should be able to rejoice in our achievements, right?
Yes.
But it depends on if that becomes the focus of our life.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If you're taking it too far. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging the fact that you've been working really dang hard for something.
Right.
And you've mastered it, or to that level that you wanted to go. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to sit on it and put yourself on a throne and have people bow at your feet, well, then that's not going to work. Now you've gone too far.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess but isn't that funny? Because, whoa, are you still there?
Yeah, I see you and hear you. Do you hear me?
Just a second. That's weird. I get a lot of electronic issues. Bear with me. Oh.
There you go. Okay. We saw you just fine. You worked really hard at that.
No, what was I going to say? something about, oh yeah, about, well, it's so, especially our generation, I find that our generation and older were raised so harshly. It was
Yeah.
just, my God, we're nice people, but it's sort of like we were just like, be quiet, sit down, shut up, don't be arrogant, don't call attention to yourself, don't be too this, don't be too that. It was just so like mind spinning. And,
Yeah.
and the kids now, my husband's a teacher. He teaches middle school, and he teaches middle school gifted children.
Wow.
And he also teaches middle school gifted children who also have learning disabilities,
Mm.
or they're on the autism spectrum. Um, so he has to bend and flex all the time. And what he's saying now is, you know, he's teaching them college level things in middle school. And
Wow.
his curriculum is very much what we learned in college. They're now learning in middle school.
Wow.
So I've watched. He's been, teaching for 30 years, close to 30 years, and I've watched all the people younger than us. Um, it's just gotten better and better and better. So that's a positive thing about not so many impossible standards. Don't do this, but you can't do that. Don't do that, but you can't be this way. All the conflicting rules.
Yeah.
Kids are being much more free to be themselves,
Right.
and that is something that's changing in this world. And I'm proud of him for being a teacher and helping to promote that change, because that is, I mean, it starts with parents at home. We raised our son way differently than how we were raised.
Right.
We tried to always empower him and teach him to think for himself and make his own choices. And that was really important to us. I'm sure you raised your kids differently too, than be quiet, don't be, only seen and heard.
Yes and no. Because I wasn't waking up quite yet. So my children actually have my daughter is, I'm telling you, I tell her you need to be a comedian, because she takes her childhood and she makes me laugh over it. When she talks about it, it's crazy. But I was still in that mindset. Even though I had come a long way from my parents' thinking, I still didn't trust and believe. Not only did I go from Catholic religion, but I went into a more Jewish type of religion where you go deeper into the Old Testament.
Oh, wow.
But it was through that process and an experience that I had through that process in that church that made me wake up and go, wow, if this church can do this, then there's way more to life than what I even begin to understand. And that's when I did start my process. But no, I actually was pretty hard on my kids.
Oh.
My son one time did something, I don't remember what he did. And I told him, if you don't stop doing that, I'm just going to, and he was in high school. I said, if you don't stop doing that, I'm just going to come to school and hang out with you all day. You're going to introduce me to all your friends. We're going to get to know each other really well. And he didn't, because he didn't believe I would do it. And I did.
You really did that. Oh my God, that's hysterical. That's a great punishment though.
I had two of those. One other time he did something, and I said, when he was at school, he was like, I don't know, probably 12-ish, I guess. And he was just really having a bad attitude. And so when he was at school one day, I took everything out of his room, everything. And when he came home, I said, you're going to have to earn all of this back.
Yeah.
And he did.
Well,
He had to earn it back.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, to me, it's okay. It's a little much.
It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah,
but I was living in fear. I was living in that time because for so many different reasons. I was living in fear of them really being good people when they were adults.
Yeah.
That was my whole focus and goal. Yeah. And they really are both wonderful people, both of them. Yeah. So it did work out okay, but they do laugh at me now because I'm nowhere near that kind of person now.
Yeah. Well, now you can relax. You don't have to raise them anymore.
Well, I spend a lot of time with my daughter's daughter. She actually lived with me for about 7.5 years of her life. And so I became like mom too, right?
Nice. Oh, that's
And
nice.
I was not even close to anything like that with her.
Right.
Miser.
He probably pointed that out too. Oh.
It's a very funny life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh,
what do you think, if you were to go back, would you choose to do this all again? Would you choose to be awake and aware and acknowledged as you were at a very young age?
Well, I wasn't acknowledged.
Well, you acknowledged it. You knew you had.
Oh, by myself. Yeah,
yes,
right.
by yourself. If you could go back and choose to take this path again, would you take the same path or would you do anything differently?
Oh gosh, I'd probably do a lot of things differently. I do have regrets, yeah. But you really can't. What's the point of going down that road?
Yeah.
So
well, I think the reason that I asked that, I've never asked anybody that before. I don't know where the question came from, is I think that it helps people from a different perspective, right? To say, okay, you experienced this. This caused this kind of reaction to you.
yeah.
And especially for like us parents or grandparents that are dealing with children that are going through this. Like my granddaughter is very much, because she was kind of brought up that way, my daughter's very knowledgeable in this world. She doesn't really embrace it, I think, as best as she can, but she's knowledgeable. She's very balanced in it. So we have those conversations with my granddaughter. She's not in the dark about it, let's say.
Okay. Yeah. About psychic abilities and
about psychic and mediumship and all that. Yeah. So I guess from the standpoint that I'm asking you is as a teacher, as a help for people that are listening.
Yeah.
What things would you have done different? What do you think would have been better?
Oh, I see. I think I should have been braver to come out earlier. Yeah. To be more of myself. I feel like I wasted so much time. Like, I'm 55 and I'm like, time's ticking.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, this is my gift. I mean, it's an amazing gift. And what an odd thing for me. I never thought I would be here doing this. And so I've been doing it now for 5 years professionally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just, I wish I could have been comfortable in my own skin earlier.
I agree with you. I think that was a perfect answer. And really that is a good message, because I think, like we were talking just before we came on about what's the worst can happen, right? What's the worst that can happen is we can actually be ourselves.
Yes.
We can actually live authentically in our own life.
Yes.
And not have to hide, because I was hiding and I don't know why. It's my life. I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned is stop hiding because you're going to make somebody else mad.
Right.
And you're ending up hurting yourself.
Yes.
So, yeah.
No, I've paid a price for it. And it's funny. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore. In the beginning, I was so worried, just like what I said, my old Dr. Phil quote. I was so worried about what other people were thinking. Mm-hmm. And I've totally, when you go down your path of embracing yourself and loving yourself, mm-hmm. It doesn't just mean loving your beauty and your happiness and all the rainbow and light stuff. It means loving your dark side as well.
Yes.
But when you love all parts of yourself, then just all that other doubt and all that just drops away.
It does. I agree.
Yeah.
And thank you for mentioning, that's really an important statement. It's loving every part of yourself and letting every part of yourself be heard and flow through you, and not try to put a box over it or a cage over it or whatever. Just you got to love all parts of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any last words that you would like to share with people? We've talked about a lot of stuff today.
I know, right? No, I guess that's the biggest thing, is to love yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would I do differently? I would love myself much younger. I would realize that one thing I did realize at a very young age is that, all of us are worried about the same types of things inside.
Yeah.
And so I used to tell my son this, do not compare your insides with all
Yes.
your worries and fears and icky,
Yes.
scared feelings. Don't compare your insides to other people's outsides.
Right.
'Cause you never know.
No.
When I was in high school, I was extremely depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought everyone could see how depressed I was. And oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed. I was so into, but I've gone to high school reunions where people are like, oh, you were so fun and perky. And I just remember how funny you were and what a great time we had. I'm like, wow. I mean, how much time did I waste worrying about, oh God, they can all see how depressed and boring and terrible of a
Yes.
weirdo I am.
That is such an important message because we all do that. We judge ourselves against other people's outsides and we have no idea what's going on inside their entire emotional being. And I've had people tell me all the time, you don't see how other people see you. You're judging yourself from a negative place and other people don't see you that way.
Right.
That's like when you really start paying attention to that, it just blows your mind.
Yes, I've heard that too. I've heard that too. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to take that as no, I'm not, we're all the same. We all worry and are scared and we all want love. We all want to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we all make mistakes.
Yes.
It's just what life is. Like I did a show the other day. It was for another network and I went on the show and I just really like everything that could go wrong went wrong. And in the past, I would have just been like in a rabbit hole. I just would have been a mess.
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, I'm a human being. This is a new experience like this. This is the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've done it, I'm on YouTube, but I've never really done a live on YouTube. So I don't know how it all works. Now I could do it like blindfold on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
But, you just learn. And that's what we have to be is patient with ourselves because we're all learning in this life.
Yes.
One step at a time.
Yes. Be your own best friend.
Be your own. I love that. That is the title of this whole show. Be your own best friend.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. More than lemons out of lemon. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. You guys hung through this whole thing. I am so appreciative. I am so sorry we can't see who's here. We cannot see comments. I will get this figured out. But what I will like to do is in the next day or so, I'm going to put part of this on Facebook. If not the whole thing, I'm going to figure out how to do it. And then please put your comments in the comment section on Facebook. After this is live, if you guys can put your comments, if you have any questions for Mardi, please let me know. I will make sure she gets whatever questions you have. Or if you want to connect Mardi, tell people how you can be connected or contacted.
Oh, yeah. My website is the best way, and it's MardiMcCray.com.
Okay.
Really easy.
At the top, so you're not going to miss it.
Yeah.
So reach out and let me know also how you think it worked on YouTube, and we'll see how this all plays out. So it's this trial.
Thank you. That was fun.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.